F1 2021 can be overwhelming for newcomers with tons of game modes, cars, settings and driving assists to choose from. But fear not, my friends, that's why I'm back here on Overtake. I am DaveGaming and these are my essential tips for you to get started in F1 2021. Feels good to be back. Same applies to Codemasters F1 2021, published by EA, which is finally out. But getting started in the newest iteration of the series might be a bit tricky. Before even thinking about hopping into a car, let's have a look at the most important settings of the game. Starting with key bindings. Yes, you heard that right. Before we can drive, we have to make sure everything is set up correctly and that we know which button does what. The most important two are the ones for DRS and the overtake button. Not this one! Of course, hit the sub button for more tutorials on F1 and ring the bell for more videos like this, but actually I meant the other overtake button. Exactly, those two are crucial for driving fast lap times and need to be mapped to buttons on your steering wheel or controller, which you can easily access in the heat of the race. Also make sure you know which button is mapped to what feature when using a steering wheel like my Fanatec one, because sadly when using those, all the menus just reference to numbers instead of buttons, which can be confusing at first. Find out which button on your wheel does what beforehand and you're good to go. Next up, we have to talk about the head-up display. Of course, this is personal preference, but in my opinion, the default overlay is a little bit cluttered. There is so much information presented to you that takes a lot of space on your screen that it really pulls you out of immersion in my opinion. My fix is to shrink down the head-up display in its size so more of the screen is freed up. This also helps with a better overview, so no crucial information happening on track is lost. On this topic, we also should talk about the right camera settings. Not too much has changed compared to last year, with the TV cam still being king. The overview is just so much better compared to the cockpit view that it's basically a no-brainer if you aren't looking for 100% immersion. As we are already on track, let's talk about driving aids, something surely many of you are interested in. If you are an F1 or sim racing veteran, you can of course turn off all aids as usual. But if you are just getting started or are playing with a gamepad, some of the aids can drastically better your feel for the car. I recommend turning ABS and traction control on, as those aids will help you modulate your braking and acceleration inputs. Controller players usually have a harder time controlling those aspects, as the travel range of the trigger buttons is just too short. TC and ABS will prevent you from losing control of the car. But don't set the traction control too high, as a full TC will cut the power of the engine dramatically after each turn, which will lose you a lot of time. Go with medium, this should be fine in most scenarios. One thing I get asked frequently is, should I use manual transmission or is automatic just fine? I personally think, no matter your skill level, try and learn to manage your gears manually. One big aspect of Formula 1 cars is their potential power output. These cars have monster engines which produce a lot of prancing horses under the hood. If you step on the gas full force when exiting a corner, the probability of a spin is super high. Especially when you are driving a lower gear, first or second for example, and aren't thoughtful enough with your gas modulation. If you use manual shifting on the other hand, you can freely choose to short shift, which means to shift early to accelerate at a lower RPM. This helps with traction and reduces the likelihood of a spin, so get yourself comfortable with shifting, as it can make you a better and up and foremost a safer driver. Another safety feature you should set up correctly in the beginning is the brake bias. If you want to know more about brake bias in general, check out our latest tutorial where we talked about just that in the top right corner. For F1 2020 a setting of 50% was fine at most times, not what you would call realistic to be honest. With F1 21 this has changed. So start with a brake bias further pushed to the front, maybe 60%, and work your way downwards until you reach the best possible braking distance without risking a rear tire lockup. Because if you lock up the front, you will have a little bit of understeer. But if you lock up the rear, you will spin the car around faster than you can say, Devin Butler is evil. So safety first here and don't overdo it. I recommend a setting between 58 and 56%, with 56 being the advanced option. Okay, everything is set, except one thing. Where are we going to start? F1 2021 offers a lot of variety when it comes to game modes for a racing game. There is the My Team mode, Driver Career, Co-op Career, Single Player, Grand Prix events, online multiplayer and much more. So where is the best place to start? Easy, the newly added Breaking Point Story mode. This interactive story campaign does not only come with a well-done storyline and interesting characters to meet, no, it's also perfectly put together to introduce newcomers to the series. 3 different difficulty modes can be chosen at the start. You don't have to go through the process of creating a new team, do research on new car parts, or earn some points for the team in practice. Instead, the game just throws you right into the action, loosens up the driving with cutscenes, and engages you with the drama of behind-the-scenes F1. Maybe this mode is not for everyone, as the action is sometimes over the top, but for newcomers you couldn't wish for a better introduction to the Formula 1 racing game universe. If you need any tips for the F1 21 career mode, be sure to hit that sub box and ring the bell for my second video coming in the following days. But other than that, that's it for today. Check out our F1 2021 review on the top right, and underneath there's something just for you.